The new season kicked off 2 weeks ago with one of the most thrilling races yet seen in the series. Continuing the international flavor of this year's schedule, we've arrived in Germany at one of the most legendary tracks in racing. Who will add their name to the list of famous winners at the ring? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Porsche Owners Club Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The Nürburgring is closing in on a century of racing, but this Grand Prix circuit is a mere baby compared to the huge Nordschleife, and that includes both size and age. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to the Nürburgring. Often overshadowed by its older, bigger brother, the Nordschleife, the Grand Prix course has actually accrued quite a bit of history itself. This modern circuit was built in the early 80s as a replacement for the lesser-known Southern Loop. And while it was updated and extended in 2002, it stayed roughly 3 miles in length throughout its history. However, the addition of the Mercedes Arena brought about a total of 6 different layouts to choose from, with the longest including 16 turns. Though not as fearsome as the ring, it's technically challenging and carries its own fair share of elevation change. Plus, the types of corners come in a wide variety, ranging from the heavy braking into the sharp hairpin of the first turn, to the swift Schumacher S, which is still not quite flat out in a lot of modern cars. Passing can sometimes come at a premium, and drivers are often forced to get creative if they find themselves stuck behind a competitor. But the difficulty that elicits mistakes means that patience can pay off for those who stay diligent. While Formula One raced here on and off for a few decades, it now mainly hosts GT and touring car racing, along with some lower-tier open-wheel series. In the end, race fans certainly shouldn't overlook the importance of this German circuit. While it may not carry the fame of its counterpart, it holds up well and helps keep this worldwide phenomenon relevant to modern racing. Well, the Nürburgring Grand Prix course is hosting, of course, the RSR and the Cayman today. What are we looking at with these two cars on track, DJ?
Well, Joe, you're going to be looking at some great racing. The Nürburgring always throws up a good race, whether you're in a single-seater or whether you're in one of these GT cars. Look for some excellent overtaking opportunities going down into that first corner, the arena complex. It is always incredible to see you get some good dives down the inside and the ability to fight back around those long left-handers that go along there. Also, look out for that good late move going down into the Dunlop curve, that long hairpin at the end of the first sector. Now, the one thing to keep in mind here is we are running the fast chicane coming out of the backstretch, and so what that's going to do is it's going to allow drivers to keep a lot more speed coming through Coca-Cola, the final curve of the track, and really improve the efficacy of the draft down the main straight. So I think that's going to make the race all the more exciting.
That should give some good opportunities for sure. But the opportunities we want to provide are for some of our sponsors, which of course starts with Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And then there is Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. Also, Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And finally, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Let's take a look at our championship app. Round 2 weeks ago, Teddy Framheim, with his win, nets him 5 points over Matthew Robinson, and he's been looking quick today. So Robinson is going to have to try and play catch-up, see if he can do anything to topple Teddy. Ost in third and Hollander in fourth is followed by Michael Johnson. Everything pretty much exactly how they finished in order in the first race. And then, of course, we have the GT4 standings, the AM standings. Why don't you run through those, DJ?
Well, as you can see, Travis Brown, the newcomer, stomping to success last time out at Silverstone. He leads the pack with Jerry Freckleton only 5 points back of him. Aaron Edwards 3 points back of Freckleton, with John Momeyer and Horace Knight rounding out your top 5. Only one race done in the books for this, as we said, but I do not see Travis Brown on the charts here tonight, so this may be an opportunity for some of his rivals to overtake him.
And I'm noticing it looks like Travis is here, but he's in the RSRs today. So that's interesting. That will affect the points. But let's take a look at today's race itself and our race details. Round 2 out of 24. It's a year-long season here today. And they've got the Porsche 718 GT4 Cayman and, of course, the Porsche 991 RSR. It's the GTE spec vehicle. They have open qualifying for 30 minutes, which we're in the midst of. And then today, it's one of their endurance rounds here at the Nürburgring. 90 minutes instead of their usual 30-minute race. So pit strategy will play a part in this. They have an open setup in this series, so they're going to try and have to make sure that these things are nice and nimble around this technical circuit. See who's got it right. So far, it looks like Teddy Framheim has got it right in the GTE class, as he is leading by 0.8 of a second over Robinson here in that faster class. Momeyer with about half a second over Fulton down to the GT4s. Let's see if Framheim is able to improve as he comes to the line. Looks like not so this time through. And there is Momeyer on screen now himself, who's also just finished a lap. This last one was his quickest, and is a 10th actually ahead of Adam Fulton. That is very, very tight down in the Caymans.
As Doug Baccioni looking like he's on a bit of a slow lap. But yeah, that Cayman class going to be very, very tight here tonight. Only a 10th separating that top 2, so that will certainly be one to watch as we watch here Jim Walsh working his way around, diving into that last Coca-Cola curve. You've got to be careful for that inside attenuator there, Joe. That can step out and bite you if you are not careful. Looks like Jim's not going to be able to set a good time here. There's probably an outlet for him right now.
Yeah, a couple seconds off his quickest. Got a few more following behind him. Freckleton not able to improve. Then we've got Stevens and Oviatt. Stevens, one of the few GT4s still looking to put a time in. A 2:14.3 will get him on the board, but he'll stay in 6th. Oviatt, in the meantime, looks like he did not set a time through there. What about BJ Fulton sitting in the 6th spot as we watch Roban come around? Fulton also looks like he was on an outlap. Travis Brown doesn't set one, neither does Roban. Got a few more minutes to try to put one down, but it's just under 2 minutes to get around here. It takes quite a bit of time, as this is a track made quite literally for Formula One.
Yeah, it's a deceptively long track, Joe. You really don't think it's going to be that big of a lap as we watch Connor Bloom here unable to improve on his time. Aaron Edwards now, one of those GT4 drivers that you talked about not putting a time on the board. He's going to cross over there with a 2:09, so that's not bad if that does indeed stick, and indeed it does, as we watch Mark Rondeau here. But yeah, deceptively long. You don't realize how long it is, but a 2-minute lap time, nothing to shake a stick at.
Rondeau once again coming down to break for the Haug Hook as we switch back to Fulton. There's just a 10th to make up to try and take the pole away. Last one was his fastest lap. Let's see what the 87 can do. A 2:06.5. That is a second faster. Demolishes Momeyer's quickest lap.
Oh my goodness, absolutely insane lap there from him. Doug Baccioni crossing the line. Only a 10th off of his best time, so he's going to have a little bit more time to put that in. Jim Walsh locks up a little bit coming into the Coca-Cola curve. You've got to be careful of that, especially with that speedy chicane. He's going to come to the line a little bit slower, though, about 0.6 off of his best.
Paul Newton up next, and also not getting a clean one that time through. What about Nico Silva here in 20th? He's only set one timed lap. The 28 is going to start have to hustle here and see if he can get a few more quick ones in, because he is second to last on the grid right now. Oviatt, in the meantime, another one still not getting a clean one in. He only has to make up 5 1,000, so he gets bumped down. I think that was BJ Fulton who just went up to 4th, the 277 on the second row.
Great lap there from Fulton. Is Eric Hagendick able to go a little bit faster there with a 54? So that will keep him relatively in the same position though of 7th. Michael Ost here coming across the line. He is currently sat in 8th place. Let's see what he can do. He is on an out lap, so he's not going to count for a good one this one, but he's going to set up for a fast one next time by.
Max Stevens, who is about 3 seconds back from the next car, certainly has a wide margin to make up if he wants at least one spot, but he sits 6th. That's not going to do it. 2:44 must have been an outlap for him. Horace Knight, in the meantime, that is his quickest, a 2:08.2. He'll stay P5.
Oh, as he gets bumped down right at the line by Aaron Edwards, who runs a 2:08.148. Here comes Matthew Robinson, not setting a time. Ron Palmer looking like he is on an outlap there, so he's going to be coming up to speed, trying to get everything to go. About 3 seconds off of his best. Here comes John Momeyer, currently sat in 2nd. John not able to improve that time by.
He'll get maybe 2 more laps here, depending if he hustles it around. Baccignone this time through is just starting a flyer and having to go around a little bit of traffic. What about Walsh in the 15th position? Actually gets jumped down to 16th recently as someone has pushed him farther down. Nico Silva, man, still having trouble keeping it within the bounds.
It can be a little tricky to do that here, Joe. It is a track where the runoff areas are going to want to come out and bite you, but here comes BJ Fulton to the line. Fulton, agonizingly thousandths of a second off of his best time. He's going to park it here. That's going to end his run, but here comes Bayan Salehi, seeing what he can do. He currently sat in 3rd place. He's going to go marginally faster, just about 100th of a second faster. Not going to move him anywhere on the charts, though.
Yep, he stays put in 3rd. Down in 8th, Ost crosses the timing line, his quickest at a 50.2, 4 tenths faster, and that's all the way up to 4th place.
Good run there for Michael. Here comes Corey Lotvilla. Really good run for Corey. Last time out was involved in some really good battles up and down the field, so let's see what he can do this time. Is not going to be fast. He's got enough time to try to get one more in, though. Let's see what he can do as Nielsen Lawrence comes to the line. Nope, he's going to dive in the pits.
Rondeau instead will stay out, but at 54.2 is about 2 seconds shy of his quickest time. What about the 8th place driver Hagendick? Looks like, nope, he doesn't have a timed one on his way through. Connor Bloom in the meantime. Here is a driver I expected to see a little bit higher up the order. The 95 sitting down in 12th currently. 50.9 is his quickest, and it'll stay his quickest at least for the time being. He's got a chance for one more quick lap.
Yeah, the Nürburgring is one of those tracks, Joe, that you either love or you hate, as we watch Ron Palmer coming across the line unable to go any faster. It's a lot of sort of hairpin type corners, and there are drivers that excel at those and getting the power down correctly, and there are some that just really struggle with it. But Nico Silva doing a little bit better. They're able to improve his time. He'll bump up to 18th place.
Indeed, 4 tenths quicker will do it for him. What about Travis Brown in the number 300, sporting a very nice looking livery? And as he crosses, a 51.274 isn't quick enough, but the checkered flag comes out. So next up is Roban. Nope, not going to do it for him. Then we've got Freckleton. He goes a little bit quicker and he bumps himself up to 3rd.
Nice job there for Jerry. He's going to be happy with that. Here comes Mark Rondeau, currently sat in 19th spot right now. The California driver trying to improve on that 52.4 right now. Now coming through here, we can stay on board. You can see just how quick this final chicane is going to come at you with the 1-2. Take massive advantage of the curbs around there. Don't be afraid. But Mark not liking that lap. He's going to park it.
I think he may have cut it too far and may have gotten a slowdown, which would ruin your lap naturally. Michael Johnson is the next one in the number 18. He's going to stick with it. 13th position. Can he bump himself out of the unlucky spot? A 50.9 is going to do it. He jumps to 12th.
And the driver he just bumped, Connor Bloom, now coming to the line. Connor currently sat in unlucky 13. He's going to run that car wide out of the Coca-Cola curve, drive it, power it down. Hey, Connor able to improve ever so slightly, but I don't think that's going to move his position. But here comes Baccignone to the line. Oh, it does. It does move him up.
One position, and Johnson goes back to 13th with that. Ron Palmer coming through the final chicane is going to be our last driver to set a time. No, he's not. He is going to abandon it. So that is our field set for today. Rather large field indeed. Let's go through our starting order. Teddy Framheim on the pole with Matthew Robinson in second. Bayan Salehi will be P3 and Michael Ost in the fourth spot. Inside of row 3, it's BJ Fulton, followed by Corey Latvala in 6th and Eric Oviat in 7th, Aaron Hagendick in P8. To the inside of row 5, Doug Baccignone starts 9th, and Travis Brown hops over from the Caymans here to the GTE cars in 10th. Matt Hollander at the top of the sheets of our next little sheet here, and he'll be followed by Connor Bloom in 12th with Michael Johnson in 13th. Paul Newton starts P14. That's Nielsen Lawrence behind him in 15th and Jim Walsh in 16th. Jad Duncan will start 17th, and then Nico Silva was only good enough for 18th today. Mark Rondeau, P19 for him. Rounding out the top 20, it'll be Michael Roban. Michael Bolton, the last on the field to qualify. Lucas Weisenberg does not appear to be in the session right now, so I don't believe he will be starting. Let's go to the GT4s.
Well, leading off those GT4s is going to be Adam Fulton, putting his car in P1 of that category, followed by John Momeyer and Jerry Freckleton and Aaron Edwards right behind them. Behind Aaron will be Horace Knight and Ron Palmer. Max Stevens is going to line up at the outside of row 14. I don't see Larry Haas or Daniel Caruso or Lane McNeil here tonight, so I think that may be the final drivers here in our GT4 field.
As they slowly work their way out to the grid, they'll get a partial pace lap behind the Porsche pace car, and then they will get going here in the home country of Porsche. The only German round that they'll be able to have here on the sim. They're still waiting for the next one to arrive, which will be Hockenheim in the near future. Looking forward to that showing up, and for these cars to whip around there. But a 90-minute race here today, DJ. These drivers don't often get a chance to have pit strategy thrown into the mix. Do you think that's going to make a difference in who winds up winning it today?
Well, I think it certainly could, Joe. You know, these guys are going to have to be careful on what they're going to want to do. There is a decent opportunity for a draft here, specifically down the backstretch off of Dunlop, so you can save a little bit of fuel if you are very, very heads up going down that way. The other thing to keep in mind is the very tricky nature of the pit in here. You know, I talked a little bit when we were watching on board that attenuator. Well, it can come out and bite you if you're trying to go around the outside, or it can come out and bite you if you're trying to go in the pits. Very tricky to get the car slowed down to where you need it to do to round that hairpin. So the pit lane going to be very crucial here today, and I certainly think it can throw up a couple of position shifts, if nothing else.
Looks like we just about have the field out there, so we should be getting going here momentarily. And this track, with its great history, has, of course, been building the history for this GP course, having been around since the early 80s. We take off behind the Porsche pace car. Already seeing Matthew Robinson accelerating and braking, and that is a method to try and heat your tires up a little bit by heating up the brakes. So 27 trying to get a little bit tricky, see if he can overtake Framheim early on with a little bit warmer rubber underneath him. Will it pay dividends? The pace car is pulling in. Framheim will have control from here. Will he go early, or will he hold them? It comes around Coca-Cola. He's playing patient, holding them up, trundling down. Very patient for Teddy Framheim, giving a long time before he goes. Green flag is out, and now Teddy Framheim takes off. Not the greatest of jumps. Robinson and Salehi looking to either side of him. Bayan almost has an opening down to the inside, but it looks like Teddy's going to cover him off. A little bit of evasive maneuvers behind as everybody tries to sort their way through the tight first corner. Not seeing any major wrecks. Looks like we're clean. Let's go to the GT4 start.
Well, the GT4 is Adam Fulton able to get off to a good start, but John Momeyer and Jerry Freckleton battling fiercely out for that second position, getting into the back of the GTEs. They're up ahead of them. There you see to the inside, diving down. Ooh, this is getting tight as they work their way out of the arena. braking section, everybody side by side.
That was Bloom and Hagendick that you saw having a problem at the first lap. And unfortunately, it seems to have caught out Ron Palmer, who now in the GT4s has come off the circuit and hit the wall hard. Meanwhile, our leaders have not had the same issues. Oh, Michael Bolton then just went off track himself, and Max Stevens just went off in the GT4s. This is proving to be very difficult for a number of drivers here on this first lap. It is a little bit cold out there on the track surface. I wonder if some are just not used to the different braking zones.
I certainly think that could be the case, Joe. It's 74 degrees tack temperature, so very, very chilly for these GT cars. They're going to have to adjust their braking zones for a couple of laps until the tires get up to temperature, and that's what's catching these guys out in the heavy braking zones, like going down into the Dunlop curve.
Let's head to fourth in the GTEs. Ost is trying to play defense on Oviatt, and he's successful on that. But now Oviatt is caught out, and that slows up Fulton. Fulton loses control, and that sends Travis Brown off almost 3 wide as Brown and Baccignone was the other one that almost went into the dirt, are now tussling for what is 7th place. They come down towards Haug Hook, and also Lawrence is taking a peek. Almost 3 wide, big block up in front of them, going way wide. Baccignone off the course, managing to sneak under. That's Travis Brown snatching 7th.
Great move there from Travis, not really pushing his advantage, just waiting for the battles to come to him. Doug Baccignone behind him trying to find him right on board with BJ Fulton. As you see Travis Brown now going to try to be starting to extend that gap, work his way up the field if he can towards Corey Lockery.
Baccignone still side by side as they head into Valvoline, and Lawrence around the long way might be able to hold on to this one. He's inside and shallow down into Ford. Baccignone can't fight back, so looks like Lawrence holds on to 9th, at least for the time being. Baccignone still close behind him, and how about Michael Johnson already up to 11th from 13th at the start. Nico Silva as well, 18th to 12th.
Yeah, both of those drivers really taking advantage of that late start that they had to move up through the field, so kudos to them. But Lawrence right now under massive pressure from Baccignone. Baccignone thinks about sending it down the inside there, decides not to, goes around the long way, keeps up the momentum, and move Doug Baccignone up into 9th place. Great move from Doug.
Ooh, I think Nielsen might have a slowdown penalty because he is very, very slow and offline. And now Nico Silva's got a good shot at things. Oh, but he almost gets squeezed completely over. Michael Johnson barely leaving the cars with. Silva somehow finds his way through, and he'll net 10th place out of that.
Once again, Joe, all about heads-up driving here, watching where the driver in front of you makes a mistake, gets a penalty, something like that, as we jump up to Michael Ost.
Ost is also slow. Is he serving a slowdown penalty of his own? I've seen a number of cars suddenly just going way off pace. And that loses him 7th to BJ Fulton, who sneaks through. This is a long race, boys. I feel like cooler heads need to prevail here. Let's head back to our GT4s. We haven't been able to look at them with so much action in the RSRs. Momeyer keeping Freckleton honest, and Edwards and Knight in a tight little fight for the last step on the podium. Heading off to the inside with a poor exit off of Coca-Cola. Edwards is going to be wheel to wheel.
And there you see them. They're going to go side by side down through the arena, but it looks like they're going to have to back off there, and that is going to be Horace Knight able to take that position away from Edwards. Good move for him to hold that off and just carry better speed. I talked about the draft. I talked about how important it is to get that blast off of that final corner, Joe, and that's exactly what he did there.
Well, some drivers are very antsy at this start, and others are maybe a little bit too polite. Some lifting and letting others through. Maybe just playing the long game here, trying to find their way to the checkered flag and hoping that they will withstand some attrition. As we ride on board now with Horace Knight in his bright highlighter yellow number 30. He's looking up ahead at John Momeyer, thinking P2 could be possible.
certainly may be on the cards, but it is a very, very long race. Over an hour and 25 minutes still here to go. You see them dive down into that long hairpin. You've got to be cautious and careful getting onto the gas there. Don't want to go. Going up to Baccignoni.
And Ost is pulled into the pits for some reason. Not sure why, but the 73's got major issues, and that will take him out of the running. Unless this is just some sort of early stop strategy. There you can see him heading down towards his stall. Keep an eye on that. I don't think he can get to the end from here, because usually these GTE cars have about 50 minutes to an hour. Maybe he has some kind of penalty that he's having to serve. Going back to the battle for fourth. Oviatt being chased down by Latvala. They're already going by some lap traffic. That was Adam Fulton that they had to go through. 18 seconds difference between the two classes. So they are going to catch that slower class many times during this race.
They certainly will, and it'll be up to those GT4s to stay out of the way. And just a quick update on those GT4s. John Lohmeyer had a massive slowdown penalty, which cost him 2 positions. Horace Knight and Aaron Edwards up into second and third there. But we watched this battle with Latvala. Really, really good pressure from him. You see him dive to the inside here. Is he going to be able to make a move around the outside coming into the next corner? I think he's going to back off a little bit, but he keeps his nose through that fast chicane. He's lined up here on the better side, but the 23 of Eric Oviatt shuts him down ever so slightly. Who's going to get the better run?
And don't forget behind them, that's Travis Brown. He's been gaining hand over fist as these two squabble. They come to the final chicane and covering him off. Oviatt, a shallow line in. Will that mean a slower line out? Latvala is not able to capitalize. They hit Coca-Cola and he hits Oviatt as he just gives a tiny love tap to the 23, but that now means that Travis Brown is on top of him, and he's going to have the inside as Latvala comes back to the racing line, leaves the door open. Brown tries to walk through. The Howe Cook is very tight, but he gives space, still carries on the battle into the Mercedes arena, the long way around, and he's gonna maybe get it. It's not quite done. Coming back at him, braking deep and locking up the tires. Brown has to give way as he doesn't want to get run into, and Latvala with a successful defense. My goodness.
Oh my goodness gracious, Joe. Just amazing. It's what makes the Nürburgring so spectacular, is the ability to fight back and forth through that section. But do my eyes deceive me there? I think Corey Latvala's got a little bit of rear wing damage to the back of that GTE.
He certainly does. We can see it on the screen. The right-hand side is very much bent. So he could be lacking some straight line speed, maybe a little bit of downforce. We'll have to watch and see how the car is handling. Travis Brown, in the meantime, is not done with him. He's put him on the back foot. Well, last time he was attacking Oviatt. Now he's in the other position. Latvala does not defend, though. Coming down into Michelin. Brown not able to attack either. He's going to stay put. Is he looking for the launch here on the way up to NGK?
He might be, and if I was Corey Latvala, I'd be trying to take a leaf out of Eric Oviatt's book. And down to the inside. Travis Brown with the late move. He's going to be positioned through the final chicane, but he's got it. He is ahead of Latvala. Great move there from Brown.
Fantastic launch off the corner for the 300. That'll put him up into 5th place. That's from 10th on the grid, and in only 6 laps. Great stuff there from Travis Brown, who clearly is not only fast in the GT4s, but also in the GTE. So maybe this move was a good idea in the end. Now, behind them, the battle for first in the GT4s between Freckleton and Knight is split by only half a second. The 30 steadily moving forward and now sets his sights on the top spot.
This battle has not gone away at all. That early mistake from Lohmeyer opening the door is there. You see that is your GTE leader, Teddy Framheim, making his way through them. That's going to slow down Jerry Freckleton ever so slightly, but he's able to carry the momentum as much as possible. Now they've got to be very, very careful here not to make any crazy mistakes. We saw what Momeyer did. Momeyer just ran wide, put a little bit too much on the outside of the car, got into the grass. That gave him a slowdown, and that's what these guys have got to be careful to avoid. They're slower cars, but they are just as susceptible to oversteer as their big brothers.
Following the tire tracks of the 57, Horace Knight won't be close enough to do anything with it here into the final chicane. They'll continue to try and keep the pressure on of our leader. Framheim should be able to come and lap them within another lap or two, it appears. And did Edwards just lose a spot? Yes, Momeyer just overtook the number 5 and has got himself back on the podium. So after his mistake, trying to make amends, let's take a look at the replay and see how he did it.
Well, here you see John Momeyer in that red machine, just powers down to the inside of the Coca-Cola curve, able to take the line away from Aaron Edwards, and good night, Gracie. He is off to the races there.
So can he now run down Horace Knight, who's a second and a half ahead of him? I'm sure he'd love to see Horace try and challenge Jerry, as that'll slow up the pair of them. Let's once again look at those top two in the GT4s heading into Valvoline. The track plunges downhill into Ford, switches direction back to the right side, and continues to drop and drop and drop until they get to the Dunlop hairpin. Something's happened to the 483. Trying to see what happened. Oh, and it looks like Connor Bloom was involved in this. This was into the Haug hook. They're going to come together. Bloom for the second time making contact early on in the lap. That is Eric in the 483 in the blue and orange car. The pink car is Connor Bloom. Defends. Bloom tries to cross him over. Oh, and just times it wrong. Just barely clips him.
Yeah, and that's some pretty mega damage. Looks like to the front of Connor Bloom's car there, the front of that pink Porsche. Very much torn up, and the same goes there for Hagendick. Both coming off the worst for wear through that little encounter. Just a miss. Oh, and we've had a big crash up front. That's Oviatt and Brown.
Oh, no. That fight was looking very good for quite a while. This one seems to have happened in the corner after Michelin. Yeah, here it is right here. And another case of the car getting into him. And unfortunately for Corey Lotfala, he just catches a piece of it. He's going to get some damage on the nose because of that and lose some time.
Yes, he is, and that's going to allow for BJ Fulton to catch up behind him. But there you see that is Lotfala working his way by the fifth place GT4 of Ron Palmer, trying to put a little bit of a buffer between him and Fulton to be able to get going. But that effects of that damage starting to show there. Lotfala braking very heavy into the corner, locking up the brakes.
And Oviatt in the background seems to have had more damage than he anticipated. We're going to watch it one more time. I almost think he's going to have to make an early stop here.
Yeah, you know what, Joe? That may not necessarily be a damage-inducing thing. If you saw at the beginning of that, he just came a little bit wide into the corner, and it looks like the car wasn't completely settled by the time he got onto the brakes. So that may be what happened to him there. The car's clearly having some damage and got to take care of a few things, but I think that was a little bit more a driver error than mechanical.
Meanwhile, Connor Bloom's damage from his incident seems to be too much, as he's been in pit lane for about 2 minutes now. The 95 taking extensive repairs. Oh, and Travis Brown just went off again. That was in the Dunlop curve. He was in a fight with Nielsen Lawrence for position. And did Nielsen make contact? No, he just shook him.
Very unexpected from our dominant GT4 winner last time out. Travis just succumbing to the pressure there and losing it. So this is not the best of starts for Travis, but we saw at the beginning he's clearly got pace here at the ring, so he may be able to try to fight his way back up, but at the front, Teddy Framheim just putting everybody through their paces, setting the fastest lap of the race.
We're going to look back at the lead of the GT4 class. For third place, Momar just in front of Edwards, but they're also trying to hold back a battle. This is Silva and Johnson, who really have their own thing that they're trying to do. They'll finally leave them be. Just as we get a little bit of blinking from Momar, that splits up that fight, but Johnson actually might be able to overtake Silva in front of him. You can see him taking a peek into the corner. Oh, and they're going to go 3 wide with Horace Knight to their outside. Horace trying to hold out of the way, but not lose too much time because he's trying to chase down Freckleton and keep away from those 3rd and 4th place cars. Neither is really all that successful. He's going to lose time.
And I thought that was a perfect move there from Michael Johnson, that it may have worked out for him. He got Nico Silva to outbrake himself a little bit and lock up going down into that first corner, but not able to make it work all the way. Johnson just constantly applying pressure here, though, and it seems to be working, as though he goes a little bit wide there through the corner, misses his outward trajectory just slightly. That's going to cost him a couple of tenths.
Maybe the Octavio Tequila car has traded in the liquor for a little bit of beer here in Germany, as he's unfortunately not been able to keep up his steady run forward that he had earlier on. It's still 10th place after making up 2 spots on the first lap for him. And let's go to Latvala, as something seems to have happened with Fulton. He's going to go by into the chicane. Great pass into there. Now, how did this one get set up? Let's take a look here. Almost looks like Corey maybe had a mistake out of the previous corner and was slow or something. Yeah, here, let's watch from here. This will be a great point to start from.
Ran a little bit wide there through that. Yeah, there it is. Runs very wide. Car starts to oversteer ever so slightly. And so this is a defense from Corey Latvala. Really, really good job. You can see how later he is on the brakes. He just says, no, this is my spot. You're not taking it. Takes a little bit of a compromised line into that first part of the chicane and it messes up his second part of it. But what that does is he's just able to power on through it. So even with the damage that Latvala has, clearly still knows the limits of his car and really putting it through its paces here.
Fantastic stuff. This is the battle for 4th that we're watching between Corey and BJ. And as we watch this, I'm also keeping half an eye on Robinson and Salehi. Bayern has been closing in on Matthew, and that could become a very tight fight as one of our GT4s goes completely off track through the Dunlop hairpin.
I mean, that's one way to get out of the way of a faster car, but I'm sure the GTE drivers will be a little bit appreciative of it.
Back down in the GT4s. Ooh, side by side here between Edwards and Ron Palmer. They come into Valvoline. I think Palmer's on a recovery drive himself, as Edwards just ahead of him is going to fend him off. Another look to the inside. Palmer likes his chances. He's showing his nose, but he's a long ways back. They break for the hairpin. And, ooh, very shallow entry, though, for Edwards. Somehow he keeps it tucked down to the inside. Doesn't open the door for Palmer. Both of them in a fierce fight. This is for the 4th position.
Yeah, you can see Palmer really just taking advantage of every inch of the track that he can. But for whatever reason, I can't tell you exactly what it is, Aaron Edwards is just able to get more speed at the exits. Doesn't exactly make sense to me looking at his lines, but Edwards clearly has a driving style that is just absolutely suited for this Porsche and this part of the Nürburgring.
Certainly. And the blue number 5 runs his way down towards the chicane. Oh, we got to go back to Silva and Johnson as they're going to be side by side. This is for 9th spot coming through the Mercedes arena. Silva tries to come back at him, almost gives him a tip. Tries to stay out of the side of that Octavio Tequila car. They come out of the Mercedes arena very slow, and that means Matthew Hollander thinks that something is in the cars, but he gets squeezed off into the grass as Silva was not aware he was there.
Yeah, I was going to say Nico Silva, I think, did not know that Matt Hollander was that close behind him. He would not have squeezed him that hard if he did. But really heads up there from Hollander to be able to try to take advantage of the position the best that he could. This battle looking like it's going to calm down, or as calm as it can be during the course of this crazy opening stages of these race. For the moment, Silva just trying to find anything he can do to get by Michael Johnson.
Now they got the friends with them, Matt Hollander in the 477. Watching and waiting, thinking that he could maybe take advantage of this. So 21 minutes into this race. Hollander trying to set up the corner exits, looking to square it off, seeing if he can accelerate past the 28, but no, they look dead even on their way up the hill towards the NGK chicane.
And you see there Silva maybe poking his nose to the inside, just trying to psych out Michael Johnson a little bit, but Johnson having absolutely nothing of it. They go through Coca-Cola here. It's all about exit. Who's going to do it? Silva runs wide a little bit. That's going to cost him ever so slightly. Watch Matt Hollander here behind. This may be the move to happen.
Doesn't look like he's gaining quite enough. The 477 hits the brakes down into Hal Cook. Oh, Silva a little too hot into the corner. He's off the apex, tries to salvage it. Hollander now switching across, but still, he cannot get his foot through. Looks like Lane McNeil going to keep out of the way of this trio. Once again, another peek from Matt Hollander into the second part of the Mercedes Arena. Silva instead focuses forward. He gets close to the back of Michael Johnson. Can he put himself ahead of his rival and make a buffer between he and Matt Hollander?
Well, if I'm looking up the road, there's a couple of slower GT4s coming up. That may be the opportunity here, especially if they're able to catch them through some of these chicanes on the backstretch. That may be the prime opportunity for Nico Silva to get by. He's just got to be patient here. You see the lines coming off of that Dunlop curve. Here they go.
Oh, and that, unfortunately, is a GT4 that's blinking. It's Adam Fulton who's going to try and stay out of the way, almost going 3 wide. And thankfully, good heads up from Hollander, not getting into the back of Haas.
But Silva runs very, very wide. That gives Hollander a good run. He's got more speed off the corner exit. Here comes Hollander. Can he do it? It looks like he just doesn't have the top speed to be able to make any of these moves work here today, Joe.
He's going to think about it, but then he comes back to the racing line. Still seeing if he can get into the head of the yellow number 28. Breaking into Coca-Cola. If he gets a good exit, he'll have another shot into Howell Cook. It's decent, but once again, I doubt that we'll see Matt able to send one in.
No, you got the power down just a hair too early coming through Coca-Cola. You can see almost imperceptibly that tail end wanting to slide out a bit. But you watch there, Silva going for an inside move on Johnson ahead. That opens him up ever so slightly. Hollander doesn't want to stick his nose into that. Silva thinking about it again, taking a shallower line through the Mercedes-Benz Arena, locks up a little bit. That lets Hollander catch up. This battle is just heating up every minute.
This is all for 9th place that we're watching among these three. Coming down towards Valvoline, they briefly spread apart. I think one little mistake will do it, and somebody's going to pounce. Will it be Silva or will it be Hollander? Out of Ford now towards the Dunlop hairpin, and once again, nobody able to get the advantage over the other.
Nobody's just able to get that definitive jump off the line to get anything to work here. It looks like all of these cars are strong at different portions of the track and able to hold each other off well whenever they need to.
This is our best battle on the track currently. Do they have any more traffic in front of them? Carusillo is just up in front in the 666. They're going to catch him quite quickly. Now, this should be a good space to go by that red 666 car, depending on which side he stays on. Yep, he's just going to hold it to the inside of the kink, and that won't interrupt any of them, although a little bit of an awkward line for Matt Hollander amongst the three coming into the chicane.
Yeah, that cost him a couple of tenths back. He's able to keep it relatively close together, though. And now we see the power off of the line. You see there Michael Johnson getting it exactly where he needs to. He's got Silva behind him to the tune of about 0.6 of a second, so that is way too far back for Silva to try to make any sort of a move here. But what he can do is keep running that slightly opposite line we've seen him do. Oh, but he is so much better on the binders.
Wow. Just gained a whole ton of time on Michael Johnson through the Howe Cook. So I'm sure he's taking note of that, and he's thinking if I get the right run, I could sneak through and get into 9th place, or he could do it right here if he's extremely brave. Right up underneath him, coming towards Valvoline. No, he falls back too much.
That's a very tricky corner to try to make a pass at, Joe. It's only about a second or a third blue corner, not really the heavy braking that you need. But there you see on the exit of Ford, Silva loses out a little bit, depriving him of one of his best overtaking opportunities on the track, down into... But you can see once again how much better Silva is on the brakes. This may be an instance of setup. Silva's just got a little bit more downforce on that car, not able to catch up in a straight line, but he really can power through the corners.
Almost wonder, it looked like Matt Hollander might get a cut course penalty the way he was taking so much curb through the Schumacher S, but it appears not to be the case. He keeps his foot in it. Not going to be as close this time coming onto the backstretch. And once again, the three of them spread apart for a small breather.
It's a breather where they can just gather their thoughts for a split second before they know what's coming, and that is going to be a fly back through Coca-Cola. Watch for the power off here. Both Silva and Johnson taking a pretty similar line out of the corner. You can see Silva starting to pull away a little bit there. I don't think this is going to be the run for Silva to make on Johnson, but let's see if he still is late on the brakes and can try to press again.
Not this time. Seems like off the corner. Yeah, look at that. Just the acceleration that the 28 has got really gives him a good advantage off of slow turns. He's going to try and square this one up. Takes a much wider line down to the left-hander. Still Johnson rebuffs him. Now, as we've been watching this, earlier on we mentioned Salehi looked like he was slightly faster than Framheim. That was a false dawn. Teddy is now 6.5 seconds ahead of Salehi and appears to be extending that.
Teddy Framheim again just dominating out here today, running consistently quick lap times and just putting in a race of his own. He's now got that gap up to 6.8 seconds, does Framheim. Now,
is it just me? When did Momeyer get into second place here? Because he's only 2 seconds back from Freckleton. I almost wonder if he's slightly faster than the 57. Let me look at the lap times here.
Well, they were just about dead even to the 1,000th of a second on that last lap out there, Joe. I'm not sure if you can find anything farther back than that, but this is turning up to a little bit of a battle here in the GT4s.
Lap before, though, it was a 2:08.7 for Freckleton versus a 2:07.9. It's almost a second faster for Momeyer. Here's the lap comparison. Yeah, right there. And Momeyer, it's back and forth, it appears. He lost some more that time by 1.5 seconds. I wonder if we can attribute that mainly just to the lap traffic coming through.
Yeah, I just watched back a little bit, and I think that's exactly what it was for John Momeyer, but he clearly has the car up under him. As there you see some of those GTEs getting up and around him. He's just got to change his racing line, make sure he doesn't get in the way of any of them. But he is certainly starting to try to put the screws here to Jerry Freckleton, trying to see what he can do.
Sorry, third place in GTE had a problem. Matthew Robinson is off the course. I think he managed to avoid hitting anything, but he's going to lose third to Corey Lotvilla, who's able to get by. Let's take a look at the replay. There it is right there. Wheel off on the exit of Ford. Great job locking it up, though. He keeps from ramming into the wall.
And it's very heads up. And Joe, it's one of the things that we've talked about with all of these off-track incidents and that kind of thing. That's the real danger that you got to get into with that. If you get off into the grass here at the Nürburgring, the tires do not like that, and you will be sent spinning. But Matthew Robinson, very, very good heads up to put it exactly where he needs to keep everything pointed the right way.
Yeah, but now he's sandwiched in. It's Latvala ahead of him and BJ Fulton behind him. If he's got the pace, I'm sure he's going to want to try and use it now and get by. He's already looking for an attack on Latvala. Can't quite use it. In fact, the awkward line that he took means that BJ Fulton is now on top of his rear wing. Onto the front stretch. Looks for the exit. At least keeps himself safe from the 277, but he's not going to get to attack the 22.
No, he's not. Corey Latvala through that NKG chicane again, proving how fast he is. But Latvala locks up big time going down into that first corner. That's going to allow for Robinson to catch up a little bit more through the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Let's see if Robinson can have the speed through this first sector. A couple more quick corners here before they get to the best overtaking opportunity at Dunlop.
Looks like he's not going to do it, but we need to go to Silva, who's side by side with Hollander, and Hollander just spun out. The 477 was taking about 2 or 3 corners to try and make a pass, and he just about had it. And you can see he's already side by side into the Haug Hook. That's the dark car of Hollander to the inside. The slightest of touches, that may even have been a little bit of net code, sends him spinning out.
And I got to say for Matthew Hollander there just a little bit, I have to put him there for that. Corey Latvala was in the grass at that point, so he really didn't leave him any space at all to move, but he is now going to have the bit between his teeth wanting to get back and up to that position as quickly as he can.
Which is unfortunate after he'd made all those inroads to catch up to those two, and instead of gaining 2 spots, he loses 1. Paul Newton gets by him into 10th. Meanwhile, it looks like the battle that we left before that is spreading apart. We did have a recent pitter. Nielsen Lawrence has come in and out, so the 302, and I don't know if this is scheduled. Looks like a full minute stop for him.
This is a little bit what I would expect to be on the long side. Neither these GT4s nor these GTEs really need to take tires here for an hour-and-a-half long race. So I think that may have been a little bit of damage fix, but I will jump back and check for you, Joe.
All right, while he is looking for that, our leader in the GTEs is still Framhan, and Jerry Freckleton is still up at the front of the GT4s. There you see the 47, now 3.5 seconds ahead of Momeyer. The lap traffic not playing well for the 96. Just a couple of those RSRs going to go by. That's Robin and Travis Brown, who easily get through.
And Joe, I can quickly report regarding Nielsen Lawrence. There wasn't any damage on the car, but it looks like he did indeed take tires. So that's what slowed him down on that. Now, I don't know if these guys are going to be doing a double stint and a 1 stint, or if that may have just been an error from Lawrence that he didn't uncheck the box to take tires here today, but we'll have to see how that plays out.
That is the 300 of Travis Brown. Just took the spot away from Roban. We were watching as they were going by the GT4 leaders. Sneaky move down out of Haug Hook, and we got a car off track. That's Lane McNeil. Oh, and he's going to re-enter on track almost into Travis Brown. No, Jerry Freckleton, actually. He almost got run over by our GT4 leader.
All right, so we'll see this whole accident develop here for McNeil. You see him coming down into the curve. He's a little bit tight through that corner, gets up onto the curbs there. That's going to unbalance the car ever so slightly. He's got faster traffic behind him, puts the power down too early and loses it, noses into the barrier. Now, Joe, here's what you were talking about with almost running into our GT4 leader.
Yeah, this is Freckleton. This is what he sees in this. Yeah, the last thing you want to see, and thankfully the car, at the last moment, McNeil swerved away from the racing line. Freckleton probably saw his race flash before his eyes. Momeyer has actually caught up after that. 1.7 seconds now between himself and P1.
Yeah, so that speed from Momeyer is not an apparition. He certainly does have it. Obviously, Freckleton having to lift off a little bit in that situation, but Momeyer keeping the pressure up here, and they've got an 18-second gap roughly back to Horace Knight in third. So it's developing into a two-car battle.
Horace Knight is off track. Horace Knight is stopped. I'm not sure why. I'm checking. Almost think he got sideswiped. It was quite a while ago. It looks like McNeil may have gotten into the side of him. No, he comes to a halt on his own. Yeah, there must be some sort of a hardware failure for Horace Knight, because he's trying to get the car going, and weird things are afoot at the Circle K. Meanwhile, as we once again look at Robinson, he has managed to get ahead of Lotfellow when we weren't looking. This must have been relatively recent.
It was indeed, I think, Joe, just a lap or two ago, as you see Teddy Framheim making the fastest lap of the race his own once again with a 52.33. As Corey Lotfellow here, though, not going quietly on Matthew Robinson. He is keeping that fight up. Lotfellow's power through that last sector, absolutely remarkable. Let's see how he is on the brakes. We've seen him lock up a lot here into the first corner. Does he do it again? Is he able to gain anything? Bit of brake dust kicked up there, but it looks like Lotfellow doesn't have anything for Robinson at this point.
Yeah, last time through, it was into that very corner, the Howard Cook, that Robinson took that third spot back. So he's back to where he was before, but he's still about 11 seconds behind Salehi. That's a lot of time to try and catch up to the second place driver, who is continuing to lose touch with our leader as well. An update on that, 13 seconds between Bayan and Teddy.
Teddy Framheim, for what it feels like the umpteenth time, just absolutely dominating this field, doing a very, very good job to keep everything together as we continue to watch this battle with Lotfellow and Robinson. But there is our leader right there. Going to show him some love, Teddy Framheim.
Now, there is a little bit of damage on the right front. I'm guessing that's just from some curbs, unless he's had a hit with another car at some point. Doesn't seem to be slowing him down, mind you.
No, it doesn't. And if you watch the inputs on the wheel here for Teddy, they're all very smooth. A little bit of a correction of oversteer there, but nothing like he's actually having to counter steer to fight through damage. So I think that's probably just something running over a curve, just a little bit of minor damage he's picked up over the course of the race, but nothing to worry about.
Another fascinating point about our GT4s, and I'm trying to tell if this is because of accidents or because of pit stops, but it is a minute gap from second to third, Momeyer to Carasillo. And I do see that Fulton and Edwards have both taken pit stops. Now, they were up towards the front-ish. So I'm not sure if those are scheduled, about 30 seconds each. So that looks like those may have been scheduled. May have been a strategy call from our 87 and our 5 car.
Yeah, we're 40 minutes into the race. That would be about right, I would think, Joe. If you want to basically do a 2-stop strategy, potentially, go for 45 minutes, and then just do an absolute splash and dash at the end.
Now, here's what's interesting, is Edwards pitted about a lap ago, but Fulton pitted 16 laps ago. So he was pretty much at the start of this race. Yeah, on like lap 2 for the 87. And these GT4 cars do have a pretty lengthy fuel tank. So I'm not sure that we'll see 2 stops from these cars. It may be a single stop race today for them.
Could be right, and it's just a matter of when you want to be in the pits, maybe coming in a little bit later like that. You've got to take a little less fuel at the beginning as opposed to the end, that kind of thing. So who knows what they'll be doing. We'll have to see as time plays out.
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately, some of the incidents that we've witnessed have pulled away many of our battles, but one that is coming back together is Newton and Hollander, and actually, it's going to go side by side right now. A mistake from Newton coming out of the Dunlop hairpin allows Hollander to challenge him, looking for the over-under. A lot of curve for Newton, almost gets into the back of him, off into the grass, tries to hold onto the car, keeps it from spinning out, and Hollander somehow saves it. And as that is happening, we have more pitters in our GTEs. So the 50% fuel cell has forced Matthew Robinson and Lane McNeil to come in.
All right, now this will present an interesting one for the GTEs. They do have a little bit of a thirstier fuel tank than those GT4s. So as I said, 40 minutes into the race, this may be two-stop territory potential.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we're just shy of halfway. Watching McNeil, looks like may have just taken the free repair. They do get two of them in this race if they get damage. Watching Robinson now. He trundles down the order. After taking his pit stop, he's already to 13th, 14th as Duncan goes by. The 27 is out. But is he done with his pit stops for today?
Well, I'll be keeping an eye on him, Joe, to see if he maybe goes into a heavy fuel conservation mode. As the race goes along, he's going to want to find a buddy to tuck up behind you on some of the longer straights here. Keep his speed up, but he'll be able to stay off the throttle as much as possible. But if he's running the exact pace, and that was as long as he could go, that means he's got to come in for one more.
Fascinatingly, Teddy Framheim has not come in, and it looks like Salehi is also going to go past pit entry. If they can go 4 more minutes, then they should be able to get to the end from there. That's it's going to be a big if, though, and we're anxiously waiting to see if any of them can do it.
It's all about the strength of your right foot and how soft you can be. As you did see on your screen there, that was Lane McNeil having a little spin around coming into the first corner. But watching our leader, Teddy Framheim, just powering his way through. You saw a quick little flash of the lights there earlier to that GT4 car, just letting him know, hey, I'm coming through. But we're going to jump back to P9.
Indeed, it is Newton, Hollander, and Travis Brown now is in the mix. Newton's having to play defense. Is he going to go to the inside? No, he's leaving the door open. Hollander with a nice slipstream as we ride on board. Travis Brown watching from the popcorn position, but Hollander decides not to take it. Still another little bit of a block down to the inside as Paul Newton tries to make sure that he doesn't try anything sneaky. Newton will hold on to ninth.
He'll hold on to ninth. Travis Brown behind him, just trying to weave this way as here comes Hollander down the inside. Newton gets way offline, lets both Brown and Hollander through.
2 spots just like that in a single corner are gone. Ooh, and I just saw a mistake from Teddy Framheim. I was watching to see if he went into pit lane, and I think he had a cut course penalty. He missed that last chicane. Let's get a replay of this one, a rare moment for the 106 to show cracks in the armor.
Yeah, so here you go, lining up as he comes through the corner, lining up for the chicane here. Just going to go a little bit narrow through the kink, line himself up. Now this is lining up for that last chicane, the fast one. There you see 1, 2. Yep, that's a little bit of a cut course for Teddy Framheim.
He might be lucky that he didn't damage the underside of the car. You saw how much it was bouncing. And the 106 is still at a 16-second lead, though. He's managed it well. Let's look again at the 217 as Travis Brown may have gotten by, but Hollander is going to try and get by as well to the inside of Coca-Cola. A very narrow line will mean that Newton could pull the over-under, and he's going to go for it. A great launch. Hollander all the way down to the pit wall. making sure that Newton can't sneak into his inside. In fact, Newton almost looked like he lifted there.
Yeah, I think Newton just didn't want to mess with that contact there that he could potentially have, as you see Hollander firmly up into that position. Now, some of our viewers may be wondering a little bit of how Travis Brown got by. Well, I can tell you, going down into Dunlop, Ron Palmer in the GT4 had a big off, went off, slid across the track, and actually collected Matthew Hollander. And that's what caused that whole incident to play out there. So that was about a half a lap before we saw that. Very, very unlucky and adding to the damage on Hollander's car that's already existing.
Remember, it is an endurance race. They got to bring this thing to the finish. Speaking of which, the halfway mark comes in about 20 seconds, and Framheim just went by the pits, so he can get to the end from here as long as he can make it around one more time.
Well, Joe, what Teddy Framheim there is proving then to me is that the guys that came in early, specifically Robinson, any of those folks, what they're doing is they're electing to take a little bit more fuel in the stop to just try to get themselves off sequence to see if that can throw anything up into Dink the Armor. If they've got enough fuel to go past that distance, they can fill up the tank and then continue to go that far on the back end.
Alternate strategy for a few of our rivals. Matthew Robinson being one of those. He's down to 14th, trying to come back forward slowly yet surely. Being on a different sequence from this man here, Teddy Framheim, through the Schumacher S himself and down towards Michelin. Really unfazed by anybody. With a 17-second difference to the nearest car.
Yeah, he is just absolutely trying to minimize any mistake that he makes. That little, off track we have him saw through the Indici chicane. We're going to jump back, though, as Matthew Robinson make a move to the inside on Jad Duncan going down into the first corner. Duncan locks up the brakes. Is that going to cede the position to Robinson? He's going to have to do it the hard way and go around the outside. Maybe go for the crossover.
Remember, this is for position, but off strategy between this pair. Duncan might not be aware of that, and he's going to lock him up down into the Mercedes Arena left-hander, allowing Robinson through. That nets him 13th. Next up the road, 11 seconds to get to Roban.
Well, and I have to imagine that's going to be a little bit of a sigh of relief, truthfully, for Matthew Robinson. He'll just be able to run in some clean air and almost acting like he's hot lapping here. Already starting to take about a half a second out of that gap to Roban here. So this may pay out for him. Remember, Robinson's the guy that came in early on that alternate strategy.
He is currently a minute 26 behind our leader, so he's still on the same lap. And he was in pit lane from cone to cone for 46 seconds. So that's not looking too shabby. He was about 11 seconds behind the leader, I want to say, before he came in and pit.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to a lot of this is going to be lap traffic for Robinson. If he's able to catch this right, the next car up the road from him is Jerry Freckleton. It's about 4.5 or so seconds up the road from him, that second place driver in the GT4s. And there you see him on your screen. So that'll be the next person he's got to dispatch. If he's able to get around lap traffic quickly, not catch him through some of the fast sweeping chicanes and instead on the straightaways, he may be able to claw a few tenths or maybe even a second or two away from Framheim and see if he can still make this a race.
I'm watching Framheim now. He's going by pit entry. So looks like the car does have quite a bit of distance here today. And this makes me, I'm starting to suspect they may have not limited the fuel cells here today with the way they have gotten, how much they've gotten out of these GTE cars.
Yeah, Joe, my experience has been we are coming into the point where you would have to be lifting and coasting for about half of the straightaway at this point to be able to get this to work. So maybe a little bit of a rules discrepancy there.
We'll try and clarify on that as we now look at Momeyer. Now, when did he overtake Freckleton? I'm going to see if I can figure out where this happened. Freckleton's been our leader for a good majority of this race. It's not because of a pit stop. Definitely happened quite a while ago as I search back on my machine here. Oh, he got tipped off by Eric Oviatt. It was helped by one of the RSRs, unfortunately. It was multiple laps ago, and the 57 out of the Mercedes arena, unfortunately, is now 7 seconds behind Momeyer. So we missed a major development here. Momeyer with clear track in front of him. Can he retain this spot? Or it was Freckleton holding back? Does he have something in reserve?
Well, he's got about that 7-second gap he's got to try to make up, so it is going to be very, very difficult. But, Joe, I want to jump very quickly to the battle for P7 right now, or P6 right now, between Michael Johnson and Eric Oviatt, really starting to heat up here.
Yep, this is Oviatt ahead of Lawrence and Johnson. So this is for 6th place. There's Oviatt, and behind him, you'll see Lawrence with inches to spare back to Johnson. The two of them trying to sort out P7. Ooh, as Lawrence much better on the brakes down into Michelin, though. Oh, no, excuse me. No, this is Lawrence is a lap behind. So this is actually Johnson being held up here.
Yeah, when I was watching it, Joe, I thought for sure the way they were battling that this was for position on track. But Michael W. Johnson's got to be, frankly, livid behind the wheel. And there he goes, diving off into the pits as Michael Johnson, not wanting to mess with that lap car of Nielsen Lawrence.
Yeah, I think he's making lemonade out of lemons here. He knew he was being held up. Might as well come in and pit, see if he could try and find something strategy-wise. That should take him to the end. Where is Matthew Robinson, who is one of our other early pitters? Looks like the 27 is in 12th and coming through the kink right now. Don't think he'll be able to get up to Johnson in time.
There you see him working his way through the Coca-Cola curve right now. Johnson getting ready to go out on track here.
Ooh, it's a long stop.
Waiting. There he goes. He's released, and that's going to be Robinson blasting by. I think he's got it. He does.
Yeah, 3 seconds longer in the pit stop for Johnson compared to Robinson. That means he is well clear of him. So our highest pitter remains Matthew Robinson. Looks like a few more are taking their stops in the GTEs. Jad Duncan, one of them. Michael Roban.
And like Matt Hollander was in on the previous lap, so he'll be thankful to repair some of the damage on that car.
Absolutely. He's back out and running in 15th. He's a ways behind the likes of Johnson and Robinson currently.
He is indeed, but we've seen him have some speed here, so he's going to be hoping to move himself up the order there if he can, and maybe that early pit stop will help him out ever so slightly.
Momeyer continues to lead, and by about 3.5 seconds, so he's lost some of that time to Freckleton. He's reeling him back in. What's fascinating is back in third, Carosillo, who is yet to pit, is being caught by Adam Fulton, who has pitted. And he pitted very, very early. There you see the battle on screen.
I was just watching that, Joe, and I was going to say this has the potential to be a little bit interesting here. Fulton just carrying way more speed everywhere, about a second a lap faster. He's going to tuck up behind here in the draft of Carosillo and just see if he can get by. I don't think he's going to have enough to make it down into turn one, but maybe look for an over-under. He's going to look to the inside, just try to scare him off the line a little bit.
Doesn't seem to have worked. Ooh, a little wide coming off the corner. Daniel Carosillo clipping the grass coming out of Howe Cook. Ooh, and that time going wide, it was Adam Fulton instead. And the Mac car finds itself through the grass. No harm, no foul. Lots of paved runoff on the other side of those little out-of-bounds portions. Almost to a third of the race left to go here. And we're getting the image of our strategies closer and more in focus. But we're still waiting on a few questions to be answered. Fulton is strong here, and Carusillo leaves the door open. Oh no, he's gonna get hit, and that actually is Robinson. That's Robinson, who just got into the red 666 of Carusillo, just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
We're going to go on board Matthew Robinson here. There was absolutely nothing he can do. You can see contact the swipe there. He tries to stay out to the outside to get away and just gets collected there. Hard hit into the nose. I'm not sure if that's going to be permanent damage. He was able to check the car up enough, but you can see on the front of that Porsche little wee bit of damage there on the left side.
As that was happening, John Momeyer has come into the pits. It's a relatively long stop. Freckleton is still out. He'll re-inherit the lead. Fulton is actually, I think, going to overtake Momeyer here unless John gets moving.
Momeyer up on the jacks there getting tires. I have to say, Joe, I think that's a little bit of a risky strategy for him to do. I don't think taking tires is the way to go, but here comes Fulton. Momeyer out under his own speed now. This is going to be a drag.
Fulton gets by, but he's got to make it cleanly through Hal Cook, just barely in front of John Momeyer. Fulton did not take tires. 27 seconds for his stop. Momeyer did, from what we could see. That'll net him third place, but he's also waiting for Freckleton to pit. Now, if Freckleton does not take tires, gosh, he'll be way ahead of everybody.
Yeah, and I really think that's the strategy here, Joe. I mean, you can double stint in these tires fairly easily. iRacing hasn't exactly worked out the cold weather graining effect that we hear a lot during Formula One races or things like that. Track temperatures still 75 degrees. You're not going to be burning away massive amounts of rubber off of these tires. You really just want to try to double stint on them. That's the way to go. It saves you all of that time, and I think you're going to see it not paying out for John Momeyer here.
And Freckleton is in the pit lane. To watch and see if he takes tires. He finds his pit stall cleanly. Yes, he's up on the jacks. Tires for the 57. So nobody feeling the same way you do here today, DJ, as seems like they value fresh rubber.
Well, Joe, there's a reason why they're in the driver's seat and I'm up here in the booth. They clearly know how that car is handling a lot better than I do. So Freckleton taking tires. This is now going to make this battle between him and Momeyer very, very close at the line to see what will shake out here.
Oh, no, it's a quick one.
Not at all close.
Wow. So what happened to Momeyer that he had nearly a 30-second longer pit stop? Freckleton is out and moving. Fulton is only just coming up to pit entry now. There is going to be a big gap between Freckleton and our second place driver, Adam Fulton, with 30 minutes left to go, and both of them done with their pit stops.
Joe, I'm almost wondering if Momeyer picked up a pit lane speed penalty. I mean, that's the only thing I think of.
I think you might be right. That could be the case that the 96 just came in a little too hot, and that has cost him. Still waiting on one driver to pit in, Carusillo, who was also involved in that incident with Fulton, who's now well behind. But he's going the longest of anybody in our GT4 class currently.
He's clearly able to make it work. Daniel is here today. Obviously, we'll have to be in at some point in the next 30 minutes. I would not be surprised if we see him within the next two, but we ride on board with John Momeyer. That is up ahead of him. That's Paul Newton getting around. Matt Hollander starting to hassle behind in one of those GTEs there. You see him going by on the right side of your screen. So that is both of them on through.
The pace today for Teddy Framheim has been just phenomenal. He has lapped everybody up to 10th place currently. Now, some of those are due to pit stops. Speaking of which, looks like one more is joining. Nico Silva down on the lane now. But Teddy coming around to put another lap on the board. 30 minutes to go. When is he going to stop? It's not going to be this time.
No, it's not, as Nico Silva is out and underway. And Joe, the GTE drivers are thinking like I'm due. Nico did not take tires on that stop.
Still got to wait a long time before we get our other drivers second on down to the pit entry. We're keeping half an eye on them as we watch on the cameras, still having to avoid the traffic and keep from getting into trouble. Now, the 666 is off course. Did he get hit again? No, I think he made a mistake here. Unfortunately, through the Schumacher S.
All right, so he gets the power down nice and easy out of Dunlop. Everything nice and together. Rides the curbs a little bit high. Coming through that first section. Oh!
Got scared off by Baccignone. Oh, and goes on two wheels. Yeah, that's going to be tough to... Oh, no, and who is that he nearly clipped? That was the likes of Robon, the 929.
I want Michael Robon to buy me a lottery ticket after that. Oh, my goodness gracious. I don't know how he was able to hold it. Watch on board here. You can see... Oh! Daniel really got to hold the brakes there. But Robon able to get through that nice and cleanly. So thankful that he does not have any damage on his GTE Porsche.
I was just thinking the same thing. That's one of those things that you hear a lot on iRacing is hold your brakes. If you have an accident, don't let it bounce around and drift across the track. There's situations like that. Oh, and Framheim nearly pitted. He juked. Well, that was bizarre. He looked like he was coming in, but Silva was coming in ahead of him. I almost wonder if he thought Silva might hold him up on the way into pit lane. Look at this. Just changed his mind.
Shades of Lewis Hamilton at Nürburgring a couple of years ago. Or no, excuse me, that was Hockenheim. I'm thinking.
Hockenheim, yeah. Stay out, stay out, stay out. And Teddy Framheim did. Salehi did not, though. He is going to come in. Lotvilla will join him. Now, did Teddy make a mistake here? If others are starting to come in, unless Framheim has saved enough fuel that he can get around. So Corey is in, Doug Baccignone is in, BJ Fulton keeps going. At least Teddy's not alone, so if he runs out of fuel, BJ is there with him and he won't feel quite the fool.
No, he won't, as I'm keeping an eye on these drivers coming down pit lane right now. Salehi and Lotvilla both getting service and on their way. In particular with Corey, I think he'll be very happy to be able to get that car restructured a little bit, as it was having some very heavy damage on it. You can see him waiting on the lane, as that is in behind him as well. A couple other drivers.
Yeah, probably taking his spare car. Getting it spick and span. Travis Brown also pitted on that lap. Eric Oviatt did not. So 3 cars able to make it to lap 34 before they need to pit. Framheim is in. He had enough fuel. Michael Ost going to join behind him. This is actually the second stop for Michael Ost. He had to come in early for mysterious reasons that we're still not totally sure about.
And we may have to ask the racing gods to figure out that one, but you see Framheim coming down the pits here, waiting for his box. Not the longest of pit lanes here at the Nürburgring, but still, when you've been traveling at speed, it feels absolutely infinite. But gets down, gets on his marks, looks like no problems. Not going to be taking tires, as we've seen most of these GTE drivers do, fuel only, and he should be out and on his way here relatively quickly, as behind him, BJ Fulton also coming in. All
right, so that's the last of them. and all of our GT4s have pitted. So that'll be it for the final 25 minutes or so. Oviat as well. Last car to hit the lane. There is our leader, Teddy, coming out with a huge lead over the rest of the field. On the way in, it was about 42 seconds, and I just don't see any reason it'll be any different on the way out. Momeyer, in the meantime, on those fresher tires, is right underneath Fulton. Can he make use of them? He's been on them for about 4 laps, so they should have heated up by now.
Most certainly, you really only need about half to 3/4 of a lap to get him fully up, but Momeyer really starting to put the pressure here onto Adam Fulton, and this may be where that fresh set of rubber is going to come into a massive amount of play here. You see him able to work his way out of the Mercedes arena. Good run off the corner, able to keep it nice and close, but I think he took it a little bit wide, a little bit of over, keep the car out as far as he can go, and that hurt him.
Still get plenty more laps here to try and get the job done. I'm looking through and seeing how everything shook out. Looks like Latvala and Fulton might have a battle, but we'll hold on here. Actually, excuse me, we are going to go and take a look at the 22 and the 277. BJ coming out a lap after Corey Latvala. So they are pretty similar on strategy here all the way to the end.
They are, and BJ's really going to want to start putting the pressure onto Corey Latvala. Latvala has had a very eventful race that gets in your head as a driver. When you're there, you start thinking about, oh man, that was the place that I got clipped. That's where this happened. He's just got to get all of that out of his head. Corey Latvala does, with that green machine of BJ Fulton filling his rearview mirrors. He just has to focus on the road ahead of him, minimize mistakes here in the final 25 minutes of this race.
Of our drivers out there running, some of our biggest gainers that I can see, looks like Michael Johnson going from 13th to 8th is among them. Nico Silva as well, 18th to 11th, 7 positions up for the number 28. Meanwhile, looks like Baccignone, unfortunately not able to hold back Matthew Robinson, outbreaks him into the NGK chicane. Looks like Robinson's still working his way back forward.
Yeah, Robinson having a very scruffy race, but he is able to get it there and move himself up, so he's having a good run.
Also had a change for second place. Momeyer finally able to overtake, also in the NGK chicane. Looks like Fulton got held up by Jad Duncan, was offline. Now this was absolutely a bizarre incident. If we could replay about 50 seconds to a minute ago, not only was Fulton put offline, but Momeyer cuts the course. Look at this.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. You can see there Fulton gets off it right through there. Momeyer gets the left tire, or the right tires over, and then comes through here, through Coca-Cola, and just powers it on away. So great run there from Momeyer. Really heads up driving to keep everything together. Now,
if people are worried that Momeyer took a spot unfairly, for those not familiar, iRacing will automatically make you give time back if you gain through a cut course such as that. We keep talking about it. We call it a slowdown penalty here in the sim. So that is legitimate at this point. Momeyer has earned that one. He probably just gave the time back as Fulton was also slow. And we now have, 24 seconds, I think, up to Freckleton. Fulton is, Adam Fulton, I should say, is well clear of the car behind as well. But the battle for third in our GTEs, the other Fulton, BJ Fulton, trying to chase down Corey Latvala.
And doing a very good job of it, just keeping up maximum pressure here. That's exactly what he's got to be doing. You see there, Latvala going a little bit defensive. Ooh, and that's going to allow for Fulton to go for the over-under. Latvala blocks up, runs a little bit wide. Here comes the fight. No, Fulton's going to think a little bit better of it, take an opposite line, see what he can do. Not going to have the pressure here through the arena.
And behind them, that's Michael Bolton. That's not for position. So these two nearly need to be focused on each other. Fulton looking for the launch out of the Mercedes arena. He gets a decent one, but Latvala too far ahead for any sort of dive into Valvoline. They're coming up on some lap traffic. That's Jad Duncan in their own class, along with Freckleton and Palmer in the GT4s. This might get a little bit complex here for a moment.
It might. They're going to hope that they can dispatch him quickly. Oh, my goodness gracious. That is not how you want to do it. BJ Fulton licking his lips. Corey forced off the track. Oh, and Latvala is into the wall.
Tried to keep his foot in it, and it did not pay off. And I don't think this was Freckleton's fault per se. He just wasn't aware that he was going to be lapped. You'll see him kind of weave to the right side, trying to go around lapping cars of his own. And then poor Latvala, well, credit to him. He kept it from running into the other cars and causing a worse wreck.
He certainly did, being very conscious of everybody out there around him. But yeah, I agree with you for Freckleton. I don't think he anticipated that. Clearly was trying to get out of the way of Palmer there to make sure he didn't make contact with him. It's the split-second decisions, though, that Joe, that you make behind the seat that really hurt you.
What that did is took away our battle for the podium position, the last podium position, which has now become a huge spread. Framheim is 25 seconds ahead of Salehi, and then Salehi 25 seconds ahead of BJ Fulton. But the other Fulton, once again, giving us some action. Adam Fulton, 7/10 behind John Momeyer. This is going to continue on. This is essentially for best of the rest. Freckleton, 23 seconds up the road, and unless he has a huge problem, it looks like he's got this one in the bag.
I think that's a pretty accurate assessment there, Joe, but you can see here Adam Fulton trying to gain back on John Momeyer. Momeyer not really able to pull out as big of a gap as you would think he would be able to. Interesting line there from Adam Fulton coming into the corner. He only took about half of the track to do that. You know, normally you're taught to use the full width of the course, but Fulton clearly choosing to try to run a little bit wider at corner entry there, or corner exit there, to see if that can gain him some speed over Momeyer. Just by the distance test, it looked like it worked for about a half a second, but lost some time countering oversteer there out of the arena. And so he is now going to continue to run about a second back of your P2 in GT4.
Not over by any stretch of the imagination. 18 minutes left to go. Fulton watching as we look over his dash up towards the red 96 of John Momeyer. This is at least calmed down a little bit for the time being, especially considering the frantic start that we had, DJ. That was just nonstop action for the first 20 minutes of this race. And now everybody's kind of in their rhythm and just trying to get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, Joe, I think at the beginning of the race, everybody just sort of forgot that this was indeed an endurance race and driving it like a sprint. And after about the 25-minute mark, everybody started to settle down just a little bit more.
Let's also glance here at Silva. Now, I think he's coming up on the battle we were watching just earlier. He's being chased by Paul Newton behind him in the number 217. They're coming up to complete the lap, and yes, they are going to catch up to these two battling for second in the GT4s, probably along the pit straight here.
Yeah, that's where you notice the biggest difference between these cars is in the straight line speed. So there you can see Silva just absolutely running down Adam Fulton in front of him. Moves out to the outside. He's not going to be able to get John Momeyer. They may get a little hung up. Momeyer sticks it to the outside. Silva decides to be aggressive, go down the inside of it. Everybody's going to get through nice and easy, but that isn't going to allow for Paul Newton to catch up ever so slightly. That is until he catches Momeyer a little bit wrong through the second part of that corner. And that is Matthew Hollander locking up the brakes behind him and almost going back into the back of John Momeyer.
Going to cross it over, be able to leave them be. Momeyer got a huge advantage out of all of that. He's up to 1.4 seconds ahead of Adam Fulton now. A little bit farther up the road, Michael Johnson has run down Doug Boccignone. Johnson, again, starting from 13th up to 7th, looking at a 6th place. His qualifying doesn't really seem to accurately portray what his race pace is. The Octavio Tequila car could potentially get one more. He's actually closing very, very fast here. Just since we've joined this, we've seen him get closer and closer to the 5.81.
Yeah, he looks a lot more confident on the brakes this late in the race, really starting to put pressure on Bacignoni here, going to the outside of the corner, diving it down, trying to take a better line there. It gets him closer. He's not quite close enough yet to make the move, but he is closing, Joe.
It's looking more like a matter of when and not if, as Johnson continues to watch on either side as Doug Bacignoni puts down the laps here in this 90-minute race. 15 more minutes left to go. They come into Ford, and suddenly Johnson not quite as strong on this portion of the track.
Interesting. That may be a little bit of a setup, perhaps, issue that Johnson just maybe running a little hair less downforce through the fast portions of Ford and Valvoline there. He doesn't quite have the ability to keep up the max speed. Or it could have just...
no, that's for position. That was Latvala off track.
Oh, my goodness.
The 22. What has happened here? Oh, unfortunately, an unforced error.
Straightens it out of Dunlop. Oh,
what? No, not an error. Hardware issue, I think. From the looks of that, absolutely bizarre. That'll send him down to 8th, but that means that Bacignoni is now in 5th.
Battle we've been watching there then, Joe, is going to be all the more important to try to eke out that top 5 for Doug Bacignoni or Michael Johnson. Whoever can be the best of it through that last sector, though, I have to say Michael Johnson really has the match of Doug Bacignoni. We'll have to see if what happened on the last round was true, if he loses some time through Valvoline and Ford, or if he's able to keep it, but Bacignoni makes a big error at the exit of turn 1.
And some of the time back, Johnson is liking that, I'm sure. Come through the Mercedes arena, braking hard, weaving through. It's got it down to 0.7 of a second, up to the 5.81. Been looking at this green rear bumper for a few laps now. And I just saw that Latvala headed into pit lane, so he's going to try and get whatever happens sorted out. And sadly continued to work his way down the timing sheets, down into the Dunlop curve, and down to 0.5 of a second. Michael Johnson finding something now. He's got the car under him. Where is he going to attack? Can he attack?
He's certainly got the pace, and he's just got to keep this up to Doug Bacignoni. This is the area of the track where you're going to get the maximum effect of that draft, that downforce effect, sucking you into the back of the car. You can see him there. A little bit of a wider line for Bacignoni. I think he may have had to lift ever so slightly. And indeed, you can see Johnson just absolutely coming onto him. Fast lap traffic getting in the way. That's Lane McNeil. Gets out of the way for him, but here they come.
That's Horace Knight. He's going to stay off to the outside as the pair of them are almost nose to tail through Coca-Cola. Johnson tried to launch himself off the corner, didn't quite time it right. I don't know if this is close enough. He could be very brave and try to attack Bacignoni into Hal Cook. He is brave. He is going to try it. But no, he comes back to the racing line. Oh, that shook him off as Bacignoni goes wide once again. Nearly gets side by side with Michael Johnson. Doesn't net him the place, but he's gotten into the head of Doug.
That's exactly what he needed to do. Just keep showing your car in the rearview mirrors and try to force Doug into a mistake. There they go through the final part of the arena section, really putting the power on. You see Johnson absolutely up the tailpipe here. Doubt he's going to make a move into Valvoline. No, he's just going to stick his nose a little bit wider. Great rear camera angle. You can see how close he goes into Ford. Thinks about it. Maybe a little bit of contact.
Almost nudges him around. Baccignoni feels the need to go defensive down into the Dunlop hairpin. Can Johnson pull the over-under, or will he go the long way around? He's going to try and do it the hard way. He holds his place. He holds the overlap. He's still got it coming up to the Schumacher S, and he's not giving it up. Too wide through here. It's hard to do it single file, and he's got it done. Michael Johnson with a brilliant move to net him 5th place.
Perseverance paying off for Michael Johnson, corner after corner, just hounding Doug Baccignoni and able to move himself up into a top 5 here tonight at the Nürburgring. Great stuff from the Octavio Tequila driver.
Now can he set sail, though, and leave Doug behind? It's going to be a gap of about 5 seconds up to Matthew Robinson. So it's been a long day for Michael Johnson, but he's making a good day out of it. Continuing to climb forward bit by bit. Behind them, a little bit of a battle brewing between Silva and Newton once again. 0.7 of a second for the 8th place battle.
Yeah, and Joe, right as that very intense battle between Johnson and Baccignoni was going on, pretty much in tandem with it, they did go side by side through the arena section as well, but Newton not able to get the move, Silva able to get the better of him for the moment, but there they come flying through the NGK chicane, and make their way onto Coca-Cola. That's some lap track in front of them. That is Jim Walsh and Larry Haas in the GT4 and the GTE respectively ahead of them. Silva able to get around by. Newton able to get by as well, but I think Walsh may slow up Silva ever so slightly. He does, locks up coming into the first corner.
That gives Newton a few more inches forward. Let's remember that Paul has hopped over, as he goes wide, and he loses some of that length, those car lengths back. Let's remember that Paul Newton has come over from the GT4 class last season, and this is a different beast. While last season he was vying for victories and getting plenty of podiums, he's a little ways off that here today as he almost cuts off McNeil. Thankfully, they don't make contact, and he also doesn't lose time on Silva.
I think both of those things are just a testament to Newton's ability to drive, the fact that he was able to avoid contact there and keep that gap relatively the same, but locks up a little bit there going down into the hairpin. That's going to cost him a couple of tenths. It's not what he needs. We are under 9 minutes to go here. He's got to get on with this move.
Going past more lap traffic. This time Adam Fulton trying to stay out of the way. Adam now full 57 seconds down from John Momeyer. Actually, he's taken a second stop, I'm seeing, so that might be something we'll have to talk about a little bit later. In the meantime, this battle much more fascinating between the 217 and the 28 in the final 10 minutes of this race.
Really shaping up here. Let's see how they can handle this coming through Coca-Cola. It looks like, at least at first glance, that Silva's got a good enough of a jump to keep Newton at bay for now, but we've seen Silva lock up a couple of times coming into that heavy braking zone. Horace Knight ahead of them in the slow GT4. That's going to cause a little bit of a problem, but more so for Newton.
Both of them having to take a compromised line through there. And fascinatingly, they are about to be lapped by our leader. Teddy Framheim is right behind him. These are our last two on the lead lap.
That's really just a testament to how good of pace Teddy Framheim has had here today, that he's going to be able to get past both of these folks. Absolutely mega drive, as we've said time and time again, from Teddy Framheim. I'm not going to say not putting a wheel wrong, because we did see him have that big off at one point, but a fairly flawless race.
Oh, sorry. I was about to say that I thought something happened to Doug Baccignoni because he disappeared for a long time, but I think it is just down to internet connection issues for him.
but he is getting caught right, as I was complimenting Framheim, he locks up going into Dunlop. But Travis Brown right up behind Doug Gaccignoni. They're going to split John Momeyer coming through Coca-Cola.
That's our second place driver in the GT4 is watching them go on either side. Brown can't get the launch off the final hairpin. Gaccignoni is able to pull away and now play defensive. Looks like Travis Brown is going to have to pull the over-under here through Hal Cook, or is he actually going to somehow manage to go around the outside? That is a tough ask around this sharp corner. No, he's going to do it. He doesn't care which way. The 300 snatches sixth place with that.
Oh, Travis Brown putting in another mega drive here today. Absolutely heartbreaking to think what would have happened to that number 300 car had he not been wrapped up in that damage early on, as he's clearly got the pace under him to do amazing things.
Absolutely. Brilliant move there to take that position. Meanwhile, let's head back to Silva and Newton, because Framheim once again is right there. Now, Teddy has plenty of space, 31 seconds down to Salehi. He does not need to push the issue here. If anything, I'd almost say it would behoove him to be very patient with these two so he doesn't get tangled in their fight.
No, and that's where it really does come to being heads up as a front-running car, when and where to make the overtake. You see him there going through Valvoline and Ford. He doesn't want to shove the nose down there, but Newton locks up. I think that's going to just let Teddy go through. Yes, indeed, he does, so he is going to get that move done. It looks like on Paul Newton, and now he's just got to keep his eyes up the road.
Critical error from Paul Newton just when he didn't need it. It could come back to him, though, because Teddy's still got to overtake Nico Silva as well. Both of them getting slightly held up by Ron Palmer through the Schumacher S. We are down to less than 5 minutes to go. Time is absolutely running out for our drivers if they want to make an overtake.
Indeed it is, and really one of the closest battles is the one that we have been following for pretty much all of this, that being the battle with Newton and Silva. But with Framheim in between them, I've got to think that this is advantage Nico Silva at this point. That gap is up to about 2 seconds between them, Joe.
This has not worked out well for Paul Newton here at the end of this race. Believe that was 3 to go at the line there as they went through. Taking a look now real briefly at the 57 with a 16-second gap over John Momeyer. Momeyer's tires have paid off because that gap has been coming down, but they didn't pay off enough for a victory, it seems. Freckleton just a little bit too far ahead for John to be able to overtake him here before everything is said and done.
Well, and Joe, I have to say, just doing a little bit of math, we speculated that John Momeyer may have had a little bit of a pit speed lane violation there, and that may have cost him some time. So if we attribute that to him, but then also look at his time stationary in the box, it's still 30 seconds up on Freckleton. I've got to think that if he didn't have that violation, he may have been in a completely different contention here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Clearly has the pace over him. Probably would have been challenging well before the checkered flag and then been able to stretch off into the distance. So we continue to watch Freckleton bring it around the final corner. I believe it's going to be 2 to go for him because Teddy Framheim is getting 2 to go here in a brief moment. But Teddy's been stuck behind Nico Silva for much of this lap, whereas Paul Newton is losing out. I wonder if maybe Newton did not fuel enough and he's having to save a little bit here at the end, because this is highly unusual to see him drop this quickly after he was so close behind.
It's a distinct possibility. I'm having a little trouble pulling up their time stationary, but you know, Nico was able to pit a little bit later than Paul, so that could be a thing where he's able to get a little bit more of an accurate representation of when he needs to pit, and Paul may have just short-filled himself ever so slightly, and it's really coming back to bite him here.
So we ride on board with, as he goes side by side, Paul Newton having to overtake John Momeyer, second place in the GT4s. Certainly didn't help the situation. And it's now up to 3.5 seconds to Nico Silva, which still has Teddy Framheim behind him, but Teddy looks like he's ready to make the move and is tired of sitting behind that bright yellow car. And still, the 28 is not going to let him by through the Dunlop hairpin.
Little bit naughty there from Nico Silva, I'm not going to lie. That's a little bit of blocking on the leader that I would not take lightly to if I was Teddy Framheim, but all is well that ends well for both of them, and Teddy not clearly wanting to endanger anything here as we tick under a minute to go.
Again, Teddy's got plenty of gap back to Salehi, 31 seconds, so he doesn't need to overtake Nico. He can cruise behind as long as he feels safe behind Silva. You can see the clock's going to be a little bit tight at the finish, but they will get the white flag this time by. They come upon our leader in the GT4s. Jerry Freckleton allows them through just as the white flag waves, and Teddy Framheim continues to roll behind the number 28. Now is he going to try and finally take this? Yes, he says, I want to go through. Let's see if he's, locking him up quite a bit. Almost coming into one another. Why is he fighting him so hard? My goodness.
This is very, very unexpected, Joe, and a little bit uncouth, I'm not going to lie, of Nico. There you see Nico get a little bit squirrely. I think
he comes back.
He's coming back at him. What is he doing?
Okay, well, look at Teddy. I think Teddy says, screw this. Take the spot. I don't need to lap you. Let's just take this thing home. Man, might be a few words between the pair after the race. I don't think I've seen something like that before at the end, where a driver is so hell-bent on staying on the lead lap.
The only thing I can frankly think of is Oriol Servia and Alexander Rossi from the 500 a couple of years ago. But obviously that wasn't a situation like this where it was leader coming onto a lap. But there comes Framheim again. Not going to want to make that pass. He just wants to keep it nice and easy.
You see the 106 started it on the pole and really hasn't looked back since the drop of the green. A spinning car in front of them, though, is going to change things, and he gets into the back of Nico Silva. Last time, an accident from Teddy Framheim almost cost him the win, and it nearly happened all over again. 106 is going to start feeling like the last lap is cursed for him.
I was going to say, if I'm Teddy Framheim, from here on out, I am running faster so that I can get the white flag a lap earlier.
But this time, he takes the checkered flag. Teddy Framheim is 2 for 2 here in the Porsche Owners Club Series as he wins here at the ring. Behind him, Jerry Freckleton will take the victory in the number 57 Porsche Cayman GT. A well-earned victory here for the white and black car.
Very well done for Jerry. Absolutely mega run here today, just keeping everything underneath that GT4 and not really putting a single toe wrong.
Salehi takes second, and Fulton is still coming through in third. Looks like Momeyer does get his second place. Adam Fulton, 54 seconds back in third position. Another one having to wait a while. Actually, both Fultons are in third place. BJ in the GTEs is just coming around the final corner right now. And the 277, there he is crossing the line. And then Adam Fulton in the 87 is coming down to the NGK chicane. He's got a whole 51 seconds back to Aaron Edwards, so he also is not under any sort of pressure. Nicely done to all of our podium finishers as Adam Fulton comes across with P3. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to the Nürburgring. The Grand Prix course gave us 90 minutes of action today, and for Teddy Framheim, he was unchallenged, but he almost saw it get thrown away at the very end once again. This time not quite as dire, as he didn't get too much damage from the incident. He took the victory ahead of Baihan Salehi, who got second, and BJ Fulton, who claimed third. Then it's Matthew Robinson, who started in second place and was up and down the order, and he wound up fourth in the end. Michael Johnson, another one coming back from the mid-pack, 13th on the grid, up to 5th in the end. Doug Baccignoni with a P6 was ahead of Travis Brown in 7th. Last car in the lead lap was Nico Silva, strangely fighting hard to retain that lead lap at the very end of the race. Then it's Paul Newton in 9th place and Eric Oviat in 10th. Those two, the first two cars lap down. Matt Hollander in 11th and Michael Ost in 12th. Nielsen Lawrence with a P13 was followed by Corey Latvala. Unfortunately, a strange incident at the end sent him into pit lane. He finished 14th, and Eric Hagendick finishes P15. Michael Roban with a 16th was followed by Michael Bolton in 17th, Jad Duckett in 18th, and Mark Rondeau in 19th. Last of our finishers in the GTEs was Jim Walsh in 20th.
Jerry Freckleton was able to come home and claim that top step at the podium in the GT4 category ahead of John Momeyer, who had a very slow pit stop and cost him a chance to compete for that lead. Adam Fulton finishing out your podium in third place in the GT4s, followed by Aaron Edwards, Ron Palmer, Lane McNeil, Larry Haas, Horace Knight, Daniel Caruso, and Max Stevens to round out your finishers there.
And we have our winner in the GTEs ready to talk to us. Teddy, congratulations, but I don't know if you're superstitious. It looks like that last lap is a bit cursed for you.
Hey, guys, thanks. Yeah, I mean, luckily, Nico and I were having a bit of a battle, and that was fun, but I think we had backed off by the time we came upon the spinning GT4, so it could have been a hell of a lot worse. I hope I hope it's not a jinx or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. And tell us about that battle with a lapped car. Now, we were very confused. Are you and Nico pretty familiar with one another, and that was all in good fun, or what was going on?
It was all in good fun. I had a shot at him down into turn one, but it ended up coming across a little bit. Like I locked up. It was kind of pushed him wide, so I gave him the space back. And, you know, in the end, as we were just talking about, it's a few laps left, this time after an hour and a half race, so I didn't feel a need to risk anything anyway.
clearly, and understandable. Now, this is the first of a couple of endurance races throughout the season. Are you used to these longer races, or do you usually do mostly sprint races in real world and here on the sim?
So in real world, this will be my first year really doing club racing. So really excited about that. I'll be in a Spec Boxster and PCA, maybe head down to Southern California for a few POC races. In the sim, I'm looking to get involved in more endurance, more more of those serious styles of events. I've done a couple so far, but this was my longest single stint in a car by probably at least 10 or 20 minutes. And it's interesting where your mind goes after 45, 50 minutes lapping the same course over and over again.
I totally understand. It's a strange place to be in. 2 for 2, though. Congratulations, and feel free to thank anybody you'd like on the way out.
Thanks, as always, to the Global SimRacing Channel. I genuinely, you guys do a great job. The commentary is spot on. Like I said, I watch every race. Thank you to Matt Hollander and POC, of course, for putting all of this stuff together, for giving us a place to compete. And thank you again to my family and my wife for watching and continuing to support me.
That was Teddy Framheim, who took the win here today. And then up next, I believe we're going to go to second in the GT4s, John Momeyer.
John, very, very good run out there. A couple of hairy moments for you, but looked like you were closing in on Jared Freckleton at the end there. Just seemed like a good race for you all around.
Yeah, just set in and set a pace. Just tried to keep that pace the whole time. I thought maybe Jerry didn't take tires at the end, and that was why I was so far behind, but he said he did, and so I don't know where I lost those 10 seconds.
Well, we were going to ask you, it looked like you may have picked up a pit lane speed violation or something. It seemed like you were stationary in the box a lot longer than some of your competitors. What happened on the pit stop?
Just fuel and tires, maybe a little too much extra fuel. I'm not sure.
All right, then. Well, other than that, I mean, we've got a long season ahead of us. Is this a harbinger of things to come for you, hopefully?
I sure hope so. I got to thank all the guys that moved up into the RSR car and out of the GT4 field to help us get up to the podium a little bit, too, yes.
I think that's a good way to look at it, John. Well, congratulations on a well-deserved second in that GT4 category. Anybody you'd like to thank tonight?
Absolutely. Got to thank my wife and son who are over in California with her family, my in-laws, Granny and Papa. And Papa's not doing so well. They're seeing him and Tia over there. And got to take Precision Motion for taking care of my Boxster Spec car at the track all the time. And, of course, you guys for commentating on GSRC and everybody at POC that helps make this happen.
Well, thank you, John, and congratulations again. And now Joe Peak has caught up with our second place in the GTE category, Bayan Salahi.
Yeah, Bayan, you didn't hold on to second place at the start, but in the end, it all came back to you. So what are your thoughts about how this race went? You feel like this is the best you could have done considering the pace that Teddy had?
Hey, guys. First of all, thanks a lot, and thanks to POC. Yeah, I mean, everything, went according to plan for the most part. I knew that P2 was where I've been all week relative to everyone else, and with the exception of some traffic issues and whatnot, I was lucky enough to just keep a steady pace, not the fastest pace, but something consistent enough to keep the gap and keep it safe.
It seems that this track certainly tested a few people. It's been mainly modern Grand Prix tracks up to this point, and we'll continue on to those. Do you like coming to these big open tracks, or do you prefer stuff like we had in Season 1 where we ran some club-like tracks, such as the infield at Las Vegas?
Right. So I had the opportunity to do the IMSA race this week at Daytona, and it was a 75-minute endurance race, and that was pretty good practice. But I found Daytona to be much tougher because it's not as rhythmic as the Nürburgring. Like, I feel like over here, the 90 minutes went by so fast because once you find a rhythm, and as long as, you don't have, any blunders, it's just time goes by so fast and it's just super consistent.
What about Spa next week? We did have some runoff that was paved here, and so obviously incidents were a concern since you did have a limit with penalties. But Spa is notorious for that. Do you feel like you can keep it under control there?
I mean, we'll see. I have limited experience with iRacing's Spa, but I think it's going to be, the same deal with Nürburgring. It's going to be, a lot about just getting really lucky and qualifying and, going super fast in the first sector. But I think, GTE is looking really good at these tracks, and it's probably going to be, I would say, even closer over there. So I'm stoked for that.
Oh, we look forward to seeing how you fare. And again, congratulations, sir.
Take care, guys.
Brian Salehi in second place. And up next, I believe we have Adam Fulton, as DJ has caught up with our third place finisher.
Adam, bit of an all-over race for you. I'd like to say not a whole lot of contact, but that obviously wasn't the case. But good fight back up your way through the field to get that final step on the podium.
Yeah, it's not where I wanted to finish, but I'm happy for Jerry and John. They're both great competitors, and they're in the practice races every day. So I know them well, and everyone had a pretty good race. Obviously, I had an extra pit stop, so didn't have much of a chance there. But it's nice to get my first podium.
I was going to ask you about that to lead off. Was that a damage call, or was that a strategy call?
No, yeah, I got punted on like turn 4 by one of the RSRs that had spun previously on one of the earlier corners. And so I actually got a meatball, had to come in for damage. I wanted to take enough fuel to run to the end, but we were maxed out. We can only take 75% fuel, so I couldn't do that. So I took as much fuel as I could, ran as long as I could, and then I had to take that extra pit stop at the end.
Okay, gotcha. That answers it for us. So then talk us through about your mentality on that. Obviously, you get the punt, contact throughout the race, lots and lots of traffic issues that looked like up and down the field. How for you as a driver, do you, after an early incident like that, how hard is it to get back into the mentality of, okay, I've just got to get here and go fast?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it actually took off a lot of the pressure because leading the race can have that pressure. You see people in your mirrors, and I just knew I had to come from behind, and I thought I didn't have much of a chance at even getting a podium, but just kind of put my head down and made it work. I had a little bit of fun with John kind of mid-race, but I think he was on new tires and I was on old tires. So it was kind of just a lonely race where I was just kind of trying to put down laps and avoid the RSRs.
Well, I'd say for the second half of it, you certainly did a good job on it, and we hope this is a bastion of things to come for you. But anybody you'd like to thank tonight on your way out?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to thank first and foremost my wonderful fiance Ashley, who lets me put in the time that I need. My parents, and also my brother BJ, who's definitely put in some time troubleshooting some issues and got me into this sim racing in the first place. And also you guys, of course.
Well, thank you very much, Adam, and congratulations again. And from one Fulton to another, we actually go right from Adam to his brother BJ, who Joe Peak has caught up with.
Actually, we've got our winner in the GT4 class. Jerry Freckleton has made his way up to the booth. And Jerry, congratulations on the win. We heard from Momeyer that he just put a little bit too much fuel in. So it sounds like doing your homework has paid off.
Yeah, it really did. And you'll have to excuse me because I'm just getting over this COVID stuff. And then I came down with a real bad cold. So I'll lose my voice a little bit. But yeah, it got kind of exciting when that RSR decided to run over the top of me in there, and I thought it was all over then. And then when John went in, I just tried to lay down a real quick lap to get a little bit of ahead of him. So, but we did quite a bit of homework before the race. We lucked out.
I was talking to Brian about his experience with doing endurance races. Have you done much of these longer formats before?
In the sim racing, no. This is my second race.
Wow.
Yeah. It's worked out really well, and I wanted to say thank you to Porsche Owners Club and I can't even think. My head's so clogged up. And the Airwolf 3D machine, and Matt for putting this all on, and John and everybody in the club in Porsche deal, and my girlfriend Denise Lanigan.
Well, I don't want to wear out your voice too much, so just real quick, short one for you. Is there any track that you're looking forward to most in the schedule coming up?
A lot of it's all new to me. So each track is a lot of fun.
All right, I like that. I think that's a good answer. A positive way to look at things.
Yeah.
So again, congratulations on the win, sir, and best of recovery to you, and definitely rest your voice.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry I was so can't think right now.
That's okay. You've been through a lot. It sounds
like. Next time if we're lucky.
Yeah. It was Jerry Freckleton, our winner here today in the GT4s. And one last one. Now we've got BJ Fulton, who had quite the incident at the start, and DJ is going to talk to him about his race.
Yeah, BJ, I think saying that that was a bit of a comeback drive may be the understatement of the century for you.
Yeah. I have been having bad times in the practices every time at the start in this race. But, this time I knew it was a long race. I expected it to lose some spots again on the first couple laps. But I knew if I hung in there, people would make some mistakes in front of me. And that's what happened. I didn't honestly expect so many, though, and to get all the way up to the podium. But I'll take it.
Well, it was a good way for us, at least, to watch you slice and dice through the field. Talk to me a little bit about, dealing with some of the lap traffic there. I know it got very, very hairy at a couple of points. How were you managing, and how is it for you coming up on those slow cars that you maybe have had to bump in with, a couple of laps ago?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy sometimes with RSRs that we were lapping and GT4s, sometimes side by side. And my strategy was to just be patient. I'll lose a little bit of time, but I figured the guys in front of me are going to lose some time some places too, so it'll all come back to me in the end. And it worked out. I was able to stay out of trouble, especially that incident with Corey spinning right in front of us. There was like 5 of us all together. I can't believe all of us got out of there except for Corey.
Yeah, I can tell you, I think my voice went up about 8 octaves when we were watching that. But so, we head elsewhere out on these tracks, doing some more enduros a little bit later on. Can we expect you to maybe, as we go to Spa or another track or two, try to be a little bit more aggressive at the start? Is that your strategy, or are you going to kind of keep it in this just steady as she goes kind of headspace?
No, for the half-hour races, I'm going to have to get more aggressive on the starts. And usually I can do better. I don't know, something about that first corner here is so brutal that it's hard for me to get through that without losing a spot or two.
I feel you're a better man than I can. I can never figure out the right apex through that corner. But BJ, congratulations again. And anybody you'd like to thank tonight before we let you go?
Yeah, of course. I'd like to thank the POC and especially Matt Hollander and John Momeyer for all the work that they put in to make this league happen. It's not insignificant, so thank those guys. And of course, I'd like to thank my wife for being so supportive and encourage me to put in all the time it takes to be competitive in this league.
Well, thank you very much, BJ, and congratulations again.
Thank you, guys.
That was BJ Fulton, our third place finisher in the GTE class. And that wraps up our interviews as we give a thank you once again to our sponsors for today's race. Porsche, there is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And then there's Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that we've listed on your screen, along with June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her Bandcamp is there, listed at the bottom. Thanks to the team today, Sean, DJ, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media outlets. Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenv.com, where we have a link of that in the description below. And while you're down there, make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race is going to be at Spa. That'll be Monday, February 8th at 11 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.